morning, everybody. The time is 9:36 a.m. The May 20th meeting of the Committee on Personnel will now come to order. This meeting is being held in room 201B. Thank you. 201B of the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Any members of the public that are wishing to testify before the committee may provide a comment by either filling out a blue public comment card here in this room located over along this wall by the window, or by visiting milwaukee.gov/public comment online and following the instructions provided to participate via Microsoft Teams. The public is welcome to submit written e-comments via the County Legislative Information Center, also known as CLIC. I'll have a few housekeeping things to announce before we get started, but first, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Supervisors Cogs-Jones.
Here.
Wasserman. Shea.
Here.
Madam Chairwoman.
Present, and please mark Wasserman excused.
There are 3 members present, 2 attending virtually. We have a quorum.
Thank you. So welcome, everyone. This committee is new to me, my first time both serving on it as well as first time as chair of one of the county standing committees, so I'm happy to be here. Hoping to get a few things established right off the bat so that as we get moving into our committee cycle, we can run smoothly and well and efficiently together. The first is that anytime someone comes up to the microphone to speak, please introduce yourself with your name and your title or position, or, if you're a member of the public, just let us know that as well. This is very helpful, even if you're speaking on multiple items. We might know who you are in the room by then, but sometimes people will look at the meeting minutes and videos from our committee meetings in the future, and they're looking back on it, and they'll click on an item to go straight to just the thing they're concerned about. And if you've already spoken 4 times, but you don't introduce yourself on that particular item, they may not know who you are or what your position or title is, so that's very helpful. I also ask that this will come in writing as well to committee heads, but just in case you're here or we're hearing this remotely, when you submit items that will end up coming to the Personnel Committee and you know that they're headed this direction, I would like it to be very easy for people to understand what a change is or what's going on from the cover memo. We don't want to bury the lead and make it difficult for anyone to figure out what your file is about or what's going on. So especially if you have a file that you submit for committee referral that is likely to be assigned to this committee, and you have a change to it after the fact, a revision or something, please make it very evident in your cover page for the revision what changed and why. That will help keep everything running smoothly. In addition, I would like to note that there was an item that we were provided that was available for scheduling that I did not schedule for this committee meeting in relation to the timing of when it was provided to us and the level of urgency or non-urgency that was conveyed to me at the time of scheduling. And that item is, let me find the item number here, one moment. Clarence, do you happen to have the item number handy of the one I'm thinking of?
Madam Chairwoman, it was file number 25468.
Thank you, 25468.
Pardon me, 26468.
26. Let's go back to this stack of paper because I don't want to misread it. 26, 4. Oh, that's why. Well, 26468 was not put on this agenda. There is a reason for that. However, it seems that that item is going to be going to another committee this cycle, and if approved, would go to the full board and would not end up being reviewed by this committee. I wanted to acknowledge that here, that there was a reason for not putting that on the agenda. However, the information will be sent out to the other committee members so that they have a chance to review it. It did end up being conveyed to be time sensitive, which is part of the reason I think it moved forward in another committee. However, if it had been heard here, there was no vote to be taken. It was for informational purposes only. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Clerk, if you could please read the first item into the record.
Item 1 from County Executive Crowley, appointing Rochelle Robinson to the Milwaukee County Civil Service Commission with a term expiring on April 30th, 2030.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman. Pleasure to be here. My name is Kyle Ashley, Director of Community Outreach for County Executive Crowley's office, and I am here on his behalf for Ms. Rochelle Robinson. Ms. Robinson is an accomplished compliance and business professional with extensive experience in regulatory oversight, risk management, financial administration, higher education instruction, and organizational leadership. She currently serves as a compliance analyst with the WEC Energy Group, where she oversees compliance and control processes for customer service third-party vendors across 7 subsidiary utility companies. In this role, she is responsible for privacy protections, risk analysis, issue mitigation, governance process, and vendor management oversight while partnering with senior leadership to improve operational accountability and compliance practices. In addition to her corporate experience, Ms. Robinson has dedicated significant time to higher education and workforce development. She served as a part-time instructor in early childhood development at Milwaukee Area Technical College since 2015 and previously taught business and accounting courses at Bryan and Stratton Colleges. She also served as an open education resources facilitator, helping to expand equitable access to affordable education materials and supporting inclusive learning environments for students. She is also the co-founder and former controller of Gateway Personal Care Agency, LLC, where she oversaw financial operations, compliance with state regulations, quality assurance, personnel management, and organizational administration. Her leadership included financial oversight under generally accepting accounting principles, operational auditing, and strategic management with diverse communities. She holds a Master's of Business Administration and a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Cardinal Stritch University, as well as a Master of Arts in Teaching from Rockford University. Ms. Robinson's extensive background in compliance, governance, financial accountability, education, and organizational leadership makes her well qualified to serve on the Milwaukee County Civil Service Commission. I am here to ask for your confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like to move for approval of the appointment of Ms. Robinson. I feel confident in her work and her leadership that she will definitely make a great addition. Thank you.
Thank you. And is that Ms. Robinson I see on the screen as well?
It is. Hi, everyone.
Good morning. If you wish to say anything to the committee, you have the floor, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the reading of my bio. I just want to say good morning to everyone, and it's a pleasure to be with you all today. I just appreciate the designation to the Civil Service Commission. Greatly appreciative.
Thank you very much. Anything else from committee members? All right, Mr. Clerk, we have a motion for approval on the committee appointment.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 1 be recommended for confirmation, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, please read item 2 into the record.
Item 2 from County Executive Crowley, appointing Kyle Williams to the Milwaukee County Civil Service Commission with a term expiring on April 30th, 2028.
Good morning again, Madam Chairwoman and committee members. Here to talk about Mr. Kyle Williams for Civil Service Commission. Mr. Williams is an attorney with the MWH Law Group, where he works on corporate transactions, municipal finance matters, legal research, contract review, and client development initiatives. His legal experience also includes work with DeWitt LLP, Varsity Blood Center of Wisconsin, and Quarles and Brady LLP, where he gained experience in compliance, litigation support, regulatory research, and corporate law. Mr. Williams earned his Juris Doctor from the University of Wisconsin Law School in 2025, along with a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Lubar School of Business and a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Fisk University. In addition to his legal and business background, Mr. Williams has demonstrated a strong commitment to leadership and public service through civic engagement, investment initiatives, and prior service in the United States Army National Guard. County Executive Crawley believes Mr. Williams' legal expertise, business experience, and commitment to community service makes him well qualified to serve Milwaukee County on the Civil Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for being here, Mr. Williams. Do you wish to say anything to the committee?
Sure. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and the rest of the committee. It's good to be here with you this morning. I definitely look forward to, fulfilling my duty on this committee. And I'm just happy to be here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the committee?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Supervisor Shea?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you. I do have one question for staff or legal. If my recollection is correct, sometimes Milwaukee County does contract with the law firm that the appointee works for third-party legal services. Have we received assurances that there would not be a conflict of interest in making this appointment when we have a contractual relationship with that law firm?
I think that question is better suited for the appointing authority.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, I have no flags, but I can definitely double back with OCC to make sure we are responsive to your inquiry.
Thank you. And I'll be the first to apologize for that late inquiry that came to me as you were presenting. I have no opposition to the appointee, and I'm aware of the type of work that the firm he works for does, and am supportive of all of that. What I would ask is that before we get to our board day, if the administration could just provide us some assurances, and maybe from Corp Counsel, that there is in fact not a conflict there, I think that would make things easy going through board day.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So we have a motion for approval on the appointment. Mr. Clerk?
On the motion by Supervisor Shea that item number 2 be recommended for confirmation, Supervisor Coggs-Jones?
Aye.
Shea?
Supervisor Shea,
Aye.
I didn't hear it. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
And thank you as well for your willingness to serve. Mr. Clerk, please read item 3 into the record.
Item 3 from the County Executive appointing Catherine West to the Civil Service Commission with a term expiring on April 30th, 2031.
Good morning again. Kyle Ashley, Director of Community Outreach for County Executive Crawley. I'm here to present Ms. Catherine West for the Civil Service Commission. Ms. West is an experienced attorney with more than 3 decades of legal experience in municipal law, employment law, civil litigation, and regulatory compliance. Most recently, she served as Assistant Corporation Counsel for Milwaukee County, where she advised county leadership on employment law, civil service matters, labor compliance, litigation, and county policy implementation. She also played a key leadership role in Milwaukee County's COVID-19 response team, providing legal guidance on operational and public service issues during the pandemic. Prior to her service with Milwaukee County, Ms. West practiced law with White, Hirschbach, Dudek, SC, focusing on civil rights litigation, environmental law, municipal law, and regulatory compliance. Early in her career, she served as an assistant city attorney for the city of Milwaukee and as a judicial law clerk for the United States District Court for Southern District of Georgia. Ms. West earned her Juris Doctor from Cornell Law School and a Bachelor of Arts with distinction from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. In addition to her legal career, Ms. West has maintained a long-standing commitment to civic and community leadership, including service on the City of Milwaukee's Redevelopment Authority since 1997 and leadership roles with numerous educational and community organizations throughout Milwaukee County. County Executive Crowley believes Mrs. West's extensive legal expertise, public sector leadership, and longstanding community involvement will make her exceptionally qualified to serve on the Civil Service Commission for Milwaukee County. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we know if Ms. West is with us today? Ma'am, would you like
Yes, I
to
am.
speak to the committee?
Yeah, good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I am Catherine West, nominated by the County Executive for a position on the Civil Service Committee. As a former county employee, I am specifically aware of the important work that the county does, and especially through its employees. I'm very honored to be nominated for this position and would welcome the opportunity to serve the county in a new role.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. Committee members?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Supervisor Shea. With no other comments, Mr. Clerk, on the motion for approval of the appointee.
On the motion by Supervisor Shea that item number 3 be recommended for confirmation, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please read item 4 into the record.
Item 4, information related to org units, strategic program areas, operating budgets, and capital projects within the 2026 adopted budget under the jurisdiction of the Committee on Personnel per the Milwaukee County Code of General Ordinances. Department heads should be prepared to provide a briefing if necessary/requested. This item is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
Thank you. Part of the reason this informational-only item was scheduled on today's agenda is due to the new assignees, including myself, to this committee, as well as some transitions that we've had in the Department of Human Resources. So I have asked our HR director to be here today to provide an introduction to herself, her vision for leading the department under the guidance and directions provided by the county board and county executive through the 2026 budget, and to give us any other insights prudent to an introductory overview. It is not intended to cover all bases or be exhaustive. This is an introduction, but I hope that committee members would use this introduction to think of things that you would like to hear from HR at our subsequent meetings so that we can build upon our learning and understanding and eventually become thorough experts in this area. So, Claire?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and committee members. So I'm going to...
Chairwoman,
Yes.
William Davidson, Deputy Corporation Counsel. You should have just received an email from Corporation Counsel Brown not long ago. It's our recommendation that we don't...
Madam Chair, we cannot hear.
Apologies. Deputy Corporation Counsel William Davidson, Corporation Counsel Brown sent an email a short time ago indicating that it's OCC's position that we not proceed with this item, given that we don't believe that it was sufficiently detailed in the notice.
Pardon me, Mr. Attorney Davidson, I believe that you're thinking of a different item. So for clarity for those listening, there had been a question prior to our committee about whether a union contract that was being proposed for approval could come to this committee for informational only. That's what I had alluded to during our housekeeping section earlier, to let you know there was a reason it was not scheduled, and that information would be distributed to committee members. I believe that Attorney Davidson may have thought that the intended introduction of the acting Human Resources Director was related to that item, but we're clearing that up now.
And Chairwoman, I apologize. In speaking with Director Katie, I think I understand the full background of this item now, and I would have no objection to Director Miller proceeding.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and committee members. So I wanted to take this time to introduce myself and then give a quick overview of the Department of Human Resources. So I'm Claire Miller, serving as the interim Chief Human Resources Officer for Milwaukee County. I began my career at Milwaukee County 13 years ago in the Department of Human Resources. I worked as the wellness coordinator and started that program from the ground up to where it is today as a sustainable initiative. It is very common for me that when I'm out and about in the county visiting with employees today, that they still bring up times from my role in the wellness program, whether that is an activity or event or a program that we did. And that is because during that time, I visited every department. I went to every shift, from first shift, second shift, third shift, from CRC to MCSO to highway. And that allowed me to have a deep foundation in understanding our workforce and what those needs are. And during my 5 years in human resources, I worked throughout the department, throughout our different service areas, to gain a deeper understanding of human resources operations. From there, I transitioned into the Department of Administrative Services, and then I transitioned into the Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance. And I've spent the last 8 years working, again, throughout the county with departments and elected officials, working on process and system improvements, as well as project management. And this has led me to develop an organizational understanding of our systems within Milwaukee County. And so I have had the ability to be able to be a people leader with a deep experience in systems and process improvement. And most recently, I've worked on two of the largest projects at Milwaukee County. And one of those is the Future State Project, which is the largest project, the strategic project in Milwaukee County, and the Investing in Justice Courthouse Complex project, which is going to be the largest capital project in Milwaukee County. And those projects would not be where they are today without a good team and without leaders looking through the lens of process, systems, people, and improving those. And that is how I approach my leadership. And so what I bring to this role and what I bring today is that past experience in human resources of understanding our workforce, of understanding the individuals who work here, understanding human resources, as well as understanding the broader structure of Milwaukee County and the broader systems that are within that county. And so I approach and lead through a systems mindset. I look at how people, processes, and structure work together, where things can be improved to support the organization more effectively, and that is how I approach the work I do. And so as long as I'm in this seat and in this interim position and in this role, that is my plan and my approach to human resources, is to align people and processes so we can operate more effectively and support the organization at a higher level. And so with that, I have, as I mentioned, a brief presentation that I would like to share on human resources. So give me a moment. All right, the mission in Milwaukee County's Department of Human Resources is to make Milwaukee County a leader employer with a high-performing and engaged workforce. And once we have brought in that talent, it's not just about bringing them in, it's about supporting them throughout their time here. And that is around building management and leadership competencies throughout the organization, as well as maintaining a total reward strategy. And that includes, not only pay, but career progression, benefits, retirement programs, and employee well-being. We have a strategic plan and presented to the committee last week, Health, Equity, and Human Needs, around our annual report. But these are our strategic focus areas where we are focused for throughout our strategic plan, and we have goals tied to each of these strategic focus areas. It includes the employee experience. So from the moment the employee touches Milwaukee County, that's their first entry point when they apply for a position or when they're recruited here. We need to have our total reward strategic focus area, which is all encompassing around benefits. And how do we, while employees here, how do we support them while they're engaged here? And also developing. Once they're at Milwaukee County, we want to develop those leaders and we want to support them through their time here. We have several different service areas within the department. Our HR operations is kind of the first touch point for employees who are looking to work at Milwaukee County. So these are our recruiters, our boots on the ground. Those are pictures of individuals, of Milwaukee County Human Resources employees working at recruiting events. HR operations is also kind of our core operations within the department. And once employees are in our system and working for Milwaukee County, our employee relations team is there to support them throughout. And I should have mentioned, that Director Gennaro Baez leads our HR operations and talent acquisition group. Our director, Daphne Ursu, leads the employee relations team. Part of that team is our HR business partners, and those are there to support employees and leaders. You can often find our HR business partners embedded within departments. So you can go to the parks, you go to the zoo, you go to highway, and you would find their HR business partner there. We want them to be involved in the departments that they work with. Total rewards, that position is currently vacant. We are actively looking to fill that, but that encompasses our benefits and our compensation. And then organizational learning and culture. This is a combination of our learning and development and our diversity, equity, and inclusion group, who are focused on developing our leaders and advancing the culture here at Milwaukee County to create a values-driven culture. And that is led by Director Dan Terrio. And lastly, the retirement plan services is led by Director Erica Bronkowski. This is for those who are in the pension program. As we know, any new employee has been transitioned to WRS system, but for those who are part of the retirement plan services, that group is there to help them as they navigate that system. And lastly, wanted to share what we have to look forward to in 2026. These are a lot of items, and we are almost halfway through the year, and there is a lot of great things that are going on. There are great people who work in Milwaukee County or who work in our Department of Human Resources who are doing really important work around recruitment, around benefits, around talent acquisition, as well as learning development, and even within retirement plan services. And so we look forward to advancing a lot of this work and the goals ahead. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for preparing that. A few quick comments I have, and then we'll check with members of the committee as well. When you and I met the other day for the first time and had a good, long, healthy, all cards on the table, sit-down conversation, I think that we had a very good conversation, professional, forward-looking, very realistic. I would be remiss to ignore that. I think from county board member perspectives, many of us feel like there has been a lot of chaos or a lot of tumultuous things going on in the HR areas recently. And of course, you're stepping into this. Even the reports that we have for our agenda that you have to speak on today were written by your predecessor. I think that many of us were very disappointed in the last few months when we had very concerning things come up in committees. And when we looked for the people that might have answers to the questions, they had already departed from county service. I bring this up to say very hopefully that you hear from us that we're not here to only condemn and only say, well, here was the rule and somebody didn't follow it. I think that every person on the county board has been elected partially because we have compassion and we understand human problems. But at the same time, we certainly do not want to be in positions where we have to be able to answer to the public in the future. And then the people that might have the answers are no longer here to help us, find what went wrong. Even if we're not looking to blame people, even if we're just looking at how do we improve our systems, and you have such a great systems mindset of how do we look at where we're at and make the whole system better. I hope that we will all be able to collectively do that, and I'm looking forward to working with you. With that said, thank you for indulging me. I would ask if any committee members have questions or wish to speak on this matter.
Madam Chair, I don't know if this question would apply to this item number or maybe item number 5, but my question is, what metrics are used to determine when a position should be reclassified?
Let's do that one specifically on the next item for 5.
Okay.
Unless you're just
Okay.
looking for like longer term strategy under this year's budget and under her new appointment.
Okay. Well, at this time, I just want to share that I do appreciate the director's approach to having that inside look of taking yourself from outside or from inside the office and going to the places where the folks are working the shifts, where there's first or second or third shift. I love that approach. It really gives the energy of like boots on the ground, which I feel it's so needed, especially when there are heavy decisions that need to be made based on systems and processes. So I do love that approach. Look forward to seeing these systems in place so that we are not experiencing the same hiccups that we just recently experienced in the past few months. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Shea, anything?
Supervisor Cogs-Jones, I believe, just said everything that I wanted to say. So
All right.
none at this time, but thank you.
Yeah. Any other county supervisors who aren't members of the committee or any other members of the public that wish to speak on this item? And checking in with Director Miller, we've covered all your bases under this item? Yes. All right, great. Then we will move on to item 5. Mr. Clerk, please read item 5 into the record.
Item 5 from the Chief Human Resources Officer, Department of Human Resources, providing an informational report regarding reclassification of existing positions classified and unclassified, advancements within the pay range, appointments at an advanced step of the pay range, revisions to executive compensation plan positions, dual employment, emergency appointments, temporary appointments, and temporary assignments to a higher classification. This item is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Supervisors. Christine Carlson, Manager of Compensation Total Rewards for the Department of Human Resources. As stated, this item is informational regarding classifications of both classified and reclassification, of classified and unclassified positions, advancements in the pay range, appointments and advanced step, temporary assignments, and has been reviewed by both my team and budget.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you give us a explanation of what the revisions were between the first report and the second report? I know that they're highlighted, but it's not clear.
I have the current one printed, so I can't right now.
Okay. Other committee members may have questions on that. I'll let that go this time because I know that we're new to this and I understand that. This is what I was referring to when I spoke about housekeeping at the beginning of the meeting. So from a sitting committee member standpoint or a member of the public, what we see in Legistar is that there were 2 reports submitted. One is clearly first and one is a revised report. When we go to the revised report, while I appreciate that there's some yellow highlights on it to let us know that it is a revision, and that it shows page by page in the corner that it's revised, if we were already familiar with the first report and then had to go to this one, there's no clean, easy way, and we would essentially have to spend a couple hours reading each line in order to find the difference. So let's all work together to we'll have faster, more efficient meetings with potentially less questions if we can make sure that our information, if it needs to be corrected, is really clear for everybody. Thank you. Director Miller, would you have any insight onto the revisions on this report that you'd be able to give us today?
Yeah, Madam Chair, committee members, Claire Miller, Interim Chief Human Resources Officer. We will follow up with you and be clear on what those revisions are and highlight that for you. And we've noted the expectations moving forward, so thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, questions or comments?
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes. Supervisor
Okay.
Jones?
Thank you. So the question is, what metrics are used to determine when a position should be reclassified?
Thank you for that question. When we look at reclassifications, we compare the original JEQ to the revised JEQ. We read it in detail, side-by-side comparison, and we look for a 40% difference in responsibilities and duties.
When you say a 40, pardon me, Supervisor Cox Jones, 1 second, I'm going to interject with a follow-up. When you say that you use 40%, do you mean 40% of the person's time in the role or 40% of the list?
40% of the duties. So we're reading every single major function that they do and with all the descriptors below it. We look at the percentage of what that is, and then we compare it identically to the next one to make sure someone didn't just take out 1 word or 2 word or just move the top one to the bottom one and swap it out. So we're looking for actual changes so that it is increased responsibilities by 40%.
Thank you for clarifying. Supervisor Cox Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would be interested in furthering this conversation to just kind of really get an idea if you're really looking at the person's actions of them executing the job duties, or are we just looking at what they've written down or, you know, said in their one-on-ones that they may be having with their manager or supervisor? Because you know, I think a good way to measure this would be based on the outcome of the flow of the position. If things are being met in a timely fashion manner, or are things being delayed? Like, for example, if people are receiving phone calls or emails back relating to health benefit questions and things to that nature, because I've worked in the inside and out of Milwaukee County, different departments, and things aren't always met in a timely fashion manner. So I would be further interested in having this conversation, maybe not during committee at a different time, to really get an understanding of how these metrics are being considered for when a position is up for reclassification. So with that, Madam Chair, I think those are all the questions that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Could I ask that the department consider providing the committee at a future date maybe a few examples, templates, so that aside from just seeing the report, if you could pick a few lines from, say, next month's iteration of this report and show us, I understand for, you know, public items, there might be something that needs to be redacted if needed, understood. But if we could kind of see that comparison of the columns you talk about, even if there's, you know, an example you could provide where it clearly met the 40%, and maybe if there was one that was completed that was rejected because it didn't meet the 40%, I think it's sort of like a mini case study. It would help us conceptualize better. I would also ask if you have something to say in response to this now, that's great. If you don't, then it would be great for next meeting to just I've heard people say that they like to look at this report because it's interesting to see who's getting a raise. It's interesting to see who's changing positions. And while that may be true, that's surely not the purpose of this report. I'd be curious to hear from the director, as you continue to get acclimated into this role, what do you find the good use of this report to be? I'm not questioning whether we should get the report. I want to make sure that if you look at a report like this and you see something different than we do, that we're trained to begin understanding what should we be beelining and zoning in on. Is it something about departments? Is it something about salaries or certain roles? Because the more adept that we can get at quickly reading these reports and knowing what to look for, the better things will go. Yes, ma'am.
If I could ask a clarifying question to Supervisor Coggs, I might be able to answer her question.
Oh, please do.
So when you were saying about metrics, there's calls that have to be made, are they getting made, those types of things? So you're talking, if I'm correct, about performance measures, if they're doing their job?
Yes.
Okay, I can answer your question then. So
Okay.
the JEQs are not based on performance measures because they're not based on individuals themselves. It's based on a job function. So you're looking at what the function is, what that function needs to do, what its responsibilities are, and what it has to do to get everything done. So if you're a recruiter, you're going to go to job fairs, it might be this percentage of time. You're going to be interviewing candidates, this percentage of time, but it's not specific to one person. It's whoever comes into the position, and it could be anybody. Does that help?
Yes and no.
Okay.
But I know that we have a long journey ahead of us, and I would love to sit down one-on-one with you and dig deeper into this.
Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I wanted to comment that we would be happy to provide you some detailed information on that report and highlight, the purpose of the report, the columns, what we're looking for. Primarily, it's around transparency for this board and for policymakers and the public as well. I think we're blurring the lines, talking about JEQs, those detailed on what the role is versus performance management. Once the person enters the role, holding them accountable to what is in that JEQ. And so we can come back to this committee and kind of explain the difference between those and kind of the life cycle of that. So we'd be happy to do that in future committee meetings.
Thank you. That would be great. All right. Any other comments on this item? Okay, this item was for informational purposes only, so we'll move on to item 6. Mr. Clerk, please read item 6 into the record.
Item 6 from the Director, Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance, providing an informational report on the county's healthcare contract and benefit actions. This item was also referred to the Committee on Finance and is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors. Excuse me. My name is Isaac Rowlett. I'm the Strategy Director for Milwaukee County in the Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance. I'm here today to provide an informational update about what we have done to improve our processes around contracting in recent months. As has already been referenced in this meeting this morning, there have been opportunities for improvement in this area identified, and we've leaned into those to make progress, as we always do, to continuously improve across the board at Milwaukee County. I will endeavor to be both succinct as well as comprehensive in this update. I'm joined by colleagues from across the administration to help address any and all questions. First action we took was that OCC reviewed all contracts managed by HR Benefits Division to catalog and review for completion and legal compliance. Secondly, we engaged with existing contracted consultants to acquire full documentation, ensure organizational awareness, and track milestone status. So to this end, there have been meetings with Willis Towers Watson to get up to speed on in-progress projects, timelines, et cetera. There's been participation in monthly meetings and additional annual recaps, and identification of pressing issues and coordinated data dissemination. Third, we reviewed and revised employee job descriptions to determine missing skill sets or capacity gaps, and identified opportunities for additional expectations related to collaboration. So for example, the County Executive's Office reviewed the JEQ for the Total Rewards Director prior to the job announcement and ensured that changes were made to emphasize a full understanding of fiscal issues. In addition, our teams scanned the work area to determine if additional capacity is needed. And lastly, on that point, I'm pleased to report that the interviews for the Total Rewards Director are currently in progress. Fourth, we are revising the Contracting Administrative Manual of Operating Procedure, or AMOP 15.01, to reflect any updated processes or omissions and to more clearly define roles and expectations for collaboration and connection with impacted departments. The new AMOP includes greater detail regarding specific roles and responsibilities, which were agreed to by all staff and departments that collaborated on the AMOP. The AMOP also provides clear directions to department personnel on the contract information for questions. We also collaborated with the Office of the Comptroller to make sure that updates that align with the new contract reporting requirements, that they align, and to build a list of contract processors and level approvers. Individuals on those lists and the department leaders will be required to complete annual training on the AMOP in Milwaukee County's learning management system. Fifth, we gathered information about the largest contracts across every cabinet department, and we completed a review of the county's largest expense contracts across all departments to ensure clear visibility into major operational commitments beyond our benefits contracts. Most of these large contracts are multi-year and are currently moving through normal renewal or negotiation cycles. All of these contracts remain active, with the exception of one contract that's operating under month-to-month billing while IMSD and U.S. Signal renegotiate terms for our data center, server, hosting, and disaster recovery infrastructure services. The renewed term is expected to run through December 31st, 2026. And finally, we've engaged with responsible departments to explore pathways to create a dashboard to track largest organizational contracts per file 26-297. Thank you for your time, and with that, happy to address any and all questions from the committee.
Supervisor Shea, I saw that you had a hand up.
Yes. I just want to ask the very obvious question. These changes, do you believe that these changes are enough to make sure we don't have the hiccups that we have had in the very recent past?
Chair, Supervisors, Isaac Rowlett, Strategy Director, Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance. While I'm reluctant to promise that there will never be hiccups in the future, as in my 7 years at the county, I've found that there always are hiccups of one sort or another, I am very proud of the work that has happened across this administration, as well as with the Comptroller's Office, to significantly improve our processes and procedures. Thank you.
Supervisor Shea, you still have the floor.
I know this isn't an action item, but I would like to make a motion to receive and place on file.
Thank you. Noted. Supervisor Wasserman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just want to be recognized for my attendance, and I would like to be recorded as voting in the affirmative for previous votes that have taken place today.
Thank you. I understand that the scheduling of today's committee meeting was not opportune for you with some conflicts for the first portion of the meeting, and if you have to go again, we understand that and you will be excused. Are there any objections to Supervisor Wasserman's votes being recorded in the affirmative for any past votes? All right, so ordered.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and committee members. Bye.
Thank you. Supervisor Cox-Jones, did you have any questions on this item?
At this time, Madam Chair.
All right. Any other supervisors not part of the committee or members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors. Jeremy Lucas, Acting Deputy Chief of Staff in the Office of the County Executive David Crowley. I just wanted to add one more item on here that is part of the report that I wanted to highlight. Today actually will be the first meeting of an interdepartmental group for working together on the county benefits. County benefit work group, members from the Comptroller's Office, Budget Office, HR, County Executive's Office, OCC, to really ensure that we are working on, ensuring that all the parts of this big, important factor in the county's budget and operations have as many eyes on it as possible. So this is a group that's going to get together, I would say, on a regular cadence. As I mentioned, we're going to talk to that group today about their availability for continued meetings. But some of the things that, we're excited to discuss include like our cooperation and even some policy issues on where we would like to, be explicit in stating where our benefits should be, how our compensation philosophy fits together in regards to the actions we take with benefits. So just to say that we will have some information, from that group to bring to the board to discuss, to better delineate in a organizational wide discussion, like where we want county benefits to be and how that fits into our financial philosophy. So I just wanted to add that to ensure that I'm very excited that we're going to be having this meeting today, and that I wanted this committee to be aware that that was about to embark.
I appreciate that. To close out this item, I'd like to share something that is brought to my mind by something Mr. Rowlett had been speaking earlier, along the lines of, you're hopeful that this is definitely a solid step in the right direction, but you hedged a little bit, understandably, to indicate, humans are humans, and we can't necessarily make guarantees. I think that one of the expectations that I have, and maybe others will have too, when they think about this dichotomy, I want to share with you. When I used to work for the state of Wisconsin, I went through a training that talked about responsiveness in crises when you work in government. And unlike a private organization, of course, we have open records, we have open meetings and videos, and we're subject to scrutiny, which is a good thing, but there's a downside of that, and it's how your systems react. This training that I participated in really stuck with me, and they made a point to show two different profiles of how organizations can react to crisis and problems in the public eye. One example they gave was from a few years ago in Hawaii, when there was some kind of a big emergency. Somebody had basically hit the big red button and said, "Evacuate the island." If we remember this, yeah. So when that incident happened, the government's response was essentially to take to a podium and say, we're going to figure out who did this, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and they're out of here, right? Kind of like an umpire. And I think the public we've been trained to cheer this on because we're used to it as a response of off with their head. But when I saw a documentary on exactly what happened and why that person hit the big red button and caused all of this chaos, it was very easy to see that probably 95% of people would have made the same exact mistake. There was a systems problem. I believe that that person did lose their job as a result of that, and I won't get into saying if that was right or wrong. Of course, we don't have all the details, but when I compare that response of what happens at a podium in that situation to what happens when an airline has a plane crash and there's fatalities involved, they don't get in front of the podium to the public and say, we're going to get to the bottom of who was at fault of this. That may be an undercurrent if there's something to investigate, but their main message to the public is, we are so sorry this happened, and we are going to get to the bottom of our systems, and we're going to figure out, was it a gap in engineering? Was it a gap in maintenance? Was it a gap in training? And we're going to fix our systems. And I think that the more and more that we, Milwaukee County, can integrate that approach into how we fix our problems and how we communicate our plans to fix those problems to the public, the more that we will operate nimbly while still maintaining compassion and still getting down to business on the public's behalf, because off with their heads is not a very productive response, even if that has to happen. But we're going to figure out what was wrong with the system the way that it was is a very good way to go. And when the government walks away from those emergency podiums with the reporters, they're expected to go carry out a termination, a headhunting. But when the airlines or other big industry walk away from their podiums to handle those public emergencies, they're expected to fix their systems, and then they do. I hope that resonates. All right, thank you for that information, and thank you for taking action on those items so quickly. Hearing nothing else on that item as it was informational. Oh, I'm sorry, we did have a motion for receiving and placing on file from Supervisor Shea. So on that note, Mr. Clerk, could you call the roll?
On the motion by Supervisor Shea that item number 6 be recommended to be received and placed on file, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Wasserman?
Excused.
Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Could you please read item 7 into the record?
Item 7, a resolution from Supervisors Rowland and Belinsky requesting the Director of Human Resources to provide monthly reports to the County Board regarding the status of Milwaukee County's healthcare benefits.
I do not see in the live stream or in the room either of the sponsoring supervisors for this resolution. Am I missing it? Or is there anyone else here to speak on this resolution?
Madam Chair, I don't see anyone in the queue or anything. I don't see Supervisor Rowland or Belinsky.
Okay.
However, I don't know if this is appropriate. I would like to move for adoption and as well be added as a co-sponsor.
You absolutely can do that. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about it. Ever-shifting ground beneath us on our rules. Mr. Katie, could you please explain for the committee what the rule is regarding co-sponsorship at this time?
Madam Chairwoman, the process for adding co-sponsors has changed under recent legislation adopted by the County Board. Basically, the original author, in this case, it would be Supervisor Rowland, all requests would go through him, and when the matter is properly before a committee, he could then ask for your name to be added. There is a process towards the end, after committee consideration is finished, where any additional co-sponsors can be added for board day by notifying the county clerk.
Thank you. So,
okay.
Supervisor Cogs-Jones, it appears that due to the new updated change in the status of our rules, we would not be able to add you as a co-sponsor at this time, and I would encourage you to reach out to Supervisor Rowland if you wish to pursue that. But we can move forward with your motion if that's still what you would like to do.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item or from the department?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Claire Miller, Interim Chief Human Resources Officer. We are happy to provide a report that they've requested, and we can follow up with Rowland and Belinsky and to better understand what their expectations are around this. So that is not a problem to us, and we're happy to do it.
Thank you. When I first read this resolution, I completely understand where it's coming from and am in agreement and will be supportive of it. I do wonder if this may down the road end up being one of those types of reports where, 5 years from now, somebody is asking, why do we receive this report when, what is the origin of it? So I don't know if it might be something that we look at putting a sunset on if certain situations or requirements are met down the road, but I'm sure that the authors would be open to discussing any insights the department has if you haven't discussed already. All right. Any other comments on this item? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll give that over to you for the roll.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 7 be recommended for adoption, Supervisor Cogs-Jones,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes, the motion prevails.
Thank you. Before we move to item 8, I will ask representatives from the Sheriff's Department. I understand that item 8 and an item later on the agenda are connected. Would you prefer us to take item 8 now in order, or to hold off on that until we have looked at the other item?
I'm fine with waiting.
You're fine with waiting? Okay. Would either of the members of the committee joining us remotely object to us temporarily laying over item 8 until it can be joined with the other item from the MCSO?
Madam Chair, just to clarify, I would need to read in the item before it was temporarily laid over.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I guess, Mr. Clerk, go ahead and read in item 8 and then we'll have an intention to temporarily lay over.
Item 8 from the Acting Chief Deputy, Milwaukee County Office of the Sheriff, MCSO, requesting creation of 2 FTE civilian investigator full-time positions, pay grade NR 19 in 4052 general investigations, using the pool of funds from the vacant investigator hourly positions, pay grade NR 19 in 4052 general investigations.
Thank you. And do you need a motion, or is non-objection sufficient? All right. So just repeating for the record, does anyone on the committee object to temporarily laying this item over for later in the meeting, at the end of the meeting?
Madam Chair, I don't object to that, but I am curious, what other item was this item be?
Item 15 on
Trying
the
to-
agenda,
okay.
26-438. It's my understanding that some of the explanation that would be provided to the committee in item 15 is
Perfect.
related to the request for item 8.
Okay, got you. I make a motion to lay over to towards the end of the meeting, Madam Chair, Mr. Clerk.
To be taken up with item 15.
With 15, yes.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to lay it over temporarily?
I don't know. I'm just.
We didn't, but she
Okay.
made one, so we'll carry that out. So, Mr. Clerk, we have a motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones to temporarily lay over item 8 until it can be taken jointly with item 15 later in the meeting.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 8 be temporarily laid over until later in the meeting, Supervisor Cogs-Jones,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
Oh,
3
I see
ayes, 0
Supervisor
noes, the
Rowland
motion
is here.
prevails.
Supervisor Rowland, thank you for joining us. If you were coming for item 7, we had just finished up with that. Did you wish?
Okay.
Did you have something to say for item 8, or I'm making an assumption that you were popping in for 7?
I was popping in for 7, but if you guys have already voted for it, then that's okay.
We did. You had support. It passed. Moving forward, and Director Miller from HR will be connecting with you to make sure everything is in order with understanding or any specificities to your requests before board day.
That sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so item 8 is temporarily laid over. Then I see that items 9 and 10 are both DHHS similar, and I'll note had a few file concerns in the agenda. Is there any reason that we couldn't take items 9 and 10 together? Okay, Mr. Clerk, could you please read items 9 and 10 into the agenda?
Item 9, a report from the Executive Director, Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, requesting the creation of one FTE Community Intervention Specialist in Housing Services. And item 10, a report from the Executive Director, Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, requesting the creation of one FTE Lead Community Intervention Specialist in Housing Services.
Thank you. Who is present to speak on these two items, 9 and 10?
Madam Chair, Eric Collins Dyke, Deputy Administrator, County Housing Services.
Yes, sir, you have the floor.
So item 9, we are requesting a full-time community intervention specialist for our coordinated entry team. Housing Services took over the coordinated entry system in January of this year. Essentially, that's a federally mandated conduit to access housing services in our community. And we have quickly realized how busy and how much the need is. And we're averaging about 1,375 calls per month. Half of those have ended up being family situations. So we partnered with United Way on accessing funding to be able to hire this position, which will be a family mobile screener that is specifically focused on these family cases and will allow the rest of our staff to address other populations in the system because they're doing double duty at the moment. United Way is also the new lead agency for the COC. So we're excited about this partnership in subsequent years as well.
Thank you. And is the department aware that there was a concern that some of the files had been duplicated between these two items when attached in Legistar?
Madam Chair, Supervisors, I discovered that this morning when looking through the agenda and then reached out to our policy director to get that corrected. My apologies for that.
Understood. So just for clarity, it appears that the items that are attached to item 9 files 26-410, that is all accurate. But then when item 10 was created for file 26414, even though the names of the attachments indicate 26414, some of them were duplicates of the attachments for item 9. That doesn't change anything about our ability to consider these position creations, the discussion or the voting on them, but I wanted it to be in the record to understand that the PDFs attached are being updated by the clerk's office staff, so they will reflect appropriately in Legistar going forward after this meeting. Questions or comments from the committee?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Jones.
Thank you so much. I just want to move these two items for approval and wanted to express the support of the work that Mr. Collins' team does for the community. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on these items? All right. Seeing none. I'm sorry, you had a motion, Supervisor, for approval? On both?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we'll move on with vote then on both items 9 and 10. Supervisor Cogs-Jones has made a motion for adoption.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that items number 9 and 10 be recommended for adoption, Supervisor Cogs-Jones. Supervisor Cogs-Jones, I didn't catch that.
Aye.
Thank you. Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
All right, going to Department of Transportation. Item 11 is next. Mr. Clerk, please read item 11 into the record.
Item 11 from the Director, Department of Transportation, requesting approval to create one FTE Administrator contract position, pay grade NR 28E, in the Director's office.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors. Mike Bickerstaff, Senior Financial Manager in McDOT. What we have before you is a request to create one administrative contracts position. McDOT is currently managing more contracts than in the past, and they are increasing in complexity and regulatory requirements. The creation of this position will provide our department with the structure and expertise necessary to manage our growing contracts portfolio in alignment with the county's fiscal and operational standards. The increase in expenditures from this action will be absorbed within the Director's Office budget. In 26, we'll use administrative fund transfer from commodities and services. In 27, this action will be paid for by a mixture of revenues and reduced usage of commodities and services. That completes my presentation. Are there any questions?
I don't believe there are. Supervisors, do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. Seeing no other requests for comment, Mr. Clerk, on the motion from Supervisor Shea to adopt.
On the motion by Supervisor Shea that item number 11 be recommended for adoption, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Supervisor Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you.
Now, we do have two more DOT right away. Items 12 and 13. So, Mr. Clerk, please read item 12 into the record.
Item 12 from the Director, Department of Transportation, requesting authorization to abolish one fleet mechanic position, pay grade NR 21, and create one accounting supervisor position, pay grade NR 25, in the Department of Transportation Fleet Management.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. John Blanian, Fleet Director, Milwaukee County Department of Transportation. What you have before you is a request to abolish one of our vacant mechanic positions and use the funds associated with that position to fund an accountant position for our department. We haven't had an accountant specifically in fleet management since 2019. Our finance manager has been responsible for many of those accounting functions for the past few years. Those accounting functions we found are taking up the majority of that individual's time, so that they're not able to do the work that they were initially hired to do, which is expanding reporting and communication for user departments and to help us optimize our fleet better and provide more support to our users to manage their costs. So it's our hope that this position would take on a large portion of that workload and also take on some of the workload currently that the Comptroller's Office staff has generously been helping us with. Many of our accounting functions, end of year break-evens and things like that has been supported by their office. So it's our hope that this position would assist with that workload as well. And I can take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Members of the committee.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question. Roughly how many staff members do we have that work in the fleet mechanic role?
Overall, our staffing is about 52 full-time employees. Approximately 30 of those employees are mechanics. Then there's about 5 parts employees, welders. Administratively, we have about 6 administrative staff right now that, myself, fleet manager, a finance manager, and then a CDL trainer, an asset manager. So kind of a variety of different functions to support internal operations, but as well as fleet support for countywide operations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back, and I'll move this item for adoption or approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion for adoption noted. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I do have a question. I just wanted to be sure that eliminating a mechanic position is not going to retard the efforts of MCTS to get our buses on the street.
Mr. Supervisor, so this fleet management with the Department of Transportation is not responsible for maintenance on the buses. That is MCTS function, which is managed separately. They have their own separate mechanics that provide that service. Fleet management supports all other departments with the exception of transit. So this would be highway, airport, the parks department, those type of functions. Although we are a little bit concerned that we will lose a little bit of capacity from a mechanic standpoint, we have a bunch of vacant positions anyway, and we're currently working on making some changes in that area. This has been identified, this accounting need has been identified as a very important and urgent for us. So this is the decision that we thought the best way to move forward at this time, doing the available funding that we have, and we would address any mechanic deficiencies as at a future time.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, we had a motion for this, right? I speak it so that I'll remember it, and then sometimes that doesn't always connect once we get into listening to explanations. So, Mr. Clerk, please go ahead with the roll.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 12 be recommended for adoption, Supervisor Cogs-Jones.
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Next is item 13. Mr. Clerk, please read the next item into the record.
Item 13 from the Director, Department of Transportation, requesting approval to abolish 1.36 FTE Highway Maintenance Worker 2 position, representing 1 full-time Highway Maintenance Worker 2 position and 1 Highway Maintenance Worker 2 temporary assignment, pay grade NR20, and create 1 full-time Electrical Mechanic DOT position, pay grade BT26, cost neutral.
Hello, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairwoman, committee members. Eddie Santiago. I'm a Highway Director and Commissioner from Milwaukee County Department of Transportation. Here before you, looking to abolish 1.36 highway maintenance worker positions. The reason it's 1.36 is that 0.36 represents 1 temporary assignment position and then 1 full-time position for highway maintenance workers. We're looking at creating 1 electrical mechanic DOT position. The reason for this is we have our 3 electricians that are, all 3 are eligible for retirement and can go at any time for continuity purposes and training. And, these electricians perform very critical infrastructure repairs on our traffic signals, our traffic cabinets, our street lighting on our systems, and many other infrastructure upgrades that we have within our buildings as well. It is looking at doing this temporarily. We're looking at hoping to restore these positions at some point in 2027, but we're doing this to be fiscal responsible and not have any impact on the tax levy.
Thank you. Committee members. Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Director. Has this position been difficult to recruit, being that it's like a specialized position, Director Santiago?
Thank you for the question, Supervisor Cox. Yes, it has been difficult to fill just about most skilled trade positions. In particular, this one, you're not only hiring an electrician, you're hiring an electrician that is willing to work on a freeway with high traffic, up in some pretty dangerous heights. But also, this position requires a CDL as well. So within 6 months of hire, you also need to find that electrician that wants to work in heights, that does not mind working outside in the cold, that likes to do this type of work, and that's also willing to get a CDL. So yes, thank you for that question.
For the response, Director. And with that, Madam Chair, I do move this item for approval.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll for the motion on adoption from Supervisor Cogs-Jones.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 13 be recommended for adoption, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you. Item 14, please.
Item 14 from the Director, HR Operations and Talent Acquisition, Department of Human Resources, requesting authority to retroactively accept the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation grant to create a recruitment outreach program. This item was also referred to the Committee on Finance and was referred to this committee for informational purposes only per Section 59.60 sub 8, Wisconsin State Statutes.
Madam Chair, Supervisors Claire Miller, Interim Chief Human Resources Officer, I'm going to yield to Gennaro Baez, our Director of Talent Acquisition and HR Operations.
Good morning, Chairwoman Alexander and supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this morning. I'm here to request your support for the retroactive acceptance of Milwaukee County's inaugural Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Talent Recruitment Grant, or TRG, totaling $217,000, which will allow us to launch a first-of-its-kind out-of-state recruitment initiative. As you know, our talent acquisition and HR operations team is deeply committed to advancing Milwaukee County's strategic goal of becoming a diverse employer of choice. We've built strong in-state partnerships, attended more than 100 community and recruitment events last year, and implemented innovative hiring models that have helped us fill high-demand roles more efficiently. But this grant represents something new and actually quite transformative. For the first time, Milwaukee County will have the resources to actively recruit public sector talent from outside of Wisconsin, targeting skilled professionals in fields where we face persistent shortages. Our skilled trades, our engineers, our nurses, our medical examiners, roles like landscape architects, and more. This WEDC talent recruitment grant gives us the ability to launch digital marketing campaigns that reach qualified candidates across the country. It allows us to attend out-of-state career fairs with the performance goal of securing 8 to 16 new hires, and it provides relocation stipends and local perks packages to help these new employees transition to our community. This initiative aligns directly with our strategic plan, strengthening the representation in underrepresented roles, improving service delivery, and enhancing the county's long-term fiscal sustainability. This grant does require a 20% match, which we will meet entirely through existing staff via service in kind, resulting in no tax levy impact. This is a smart, forward-looking investment in our workforce, our residents, and our future competitiveness as a public sector employer. I respectfully ask your support in retroactively accepting this grant so we can begin implementing this innovative recruitment strategy. I do also want to acknowledge the teammates who successfully helped navigate this grant across the finish line, that being Carla Fries, our grants project manager, Debbie Rios, our talent acquisition manager, and William Davidson from Corporation Counsel. With that, I will pause and open the floor for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Cogs-Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this grant is amazing. Shout out to the people who were boots on the ground to help fulfill and execute this. But I do have a couple questions. How will the success be measured from the outreach and the efforts that you are looking to put forth?
Thank you for your question, Chairwoman and supervisors. The grant does have pretty concrete stipulations in there in terms of performance metrics and reporting. We have a 50-50 payout of 2 installments for that $217K. The first is contingent upon us identifying 8 hires that will be relocating to our market here and accepting positions on our team. And there are various reporting milestones that are built into the grant's acceptance that we will be complying with. It's not relevant to the events attended or outreach or anything like that. They are looking for the performance of those actual hires coming to fruition.
Okay. And this grant is solely just for outreach recruitment efforts for out of state. This isn't, or could it be for in-state as well?
Thank you for your question, Chairwoman and supervisors. Yes, it is purely for out of state. It was an initiative put together by the WDC relevant to uplifting the prosperity of our region and bringing more infusion of talent into the region. So there are stipulations that maintain this is purely for out of state.
Okay. And then my last question is, what happens when the grant funding expires?
So the performance of this component, the initial grant total amount that they went to market with and solicited submissions for was $250K. The Milwaukee County team, we were successful in securing $217K of that $250. The performance milestones are mapped out through March 1st of 2030. Their release of subsequent grants and the application process is purely on the WDC's time schedule. We will absolutely submit again when we are notified of that, but we have not been given any kind of cadence on how they will release these grant notifications. This was their inaugural grant, and quite frankly, they'll probably take our grant submission and performance as the blueprint for subsequent grant releases.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering my questions. And again, congratulations. And with that, Madam Chair, I would like to move this item for approval. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just to clarify, this item was referred to the Committee on Personnel for informational purposes only. But action, yep.
Thank you.
So Supervisor Cogs-Jones, you withdraw your motion then?
Yes, at this time, I would like to withdraw my motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the committee or members of the public? Okay. I have a question. I love the idea of what I'm reading here, and conceptually, I want us to always be able to recruit and obtain, if we can, the best people with the best skills that are the best fit for positions. But sometimes we elected officials are asked questions from members of the public who may not look at things through such a technical lens as we do here in these committee rooms, or the departments when writing their reports, or even the state when writing their grant proposals or requirements. And I can anticipate already questions in conversation will come up from members of the public that watch what we do, and they may say, Milwaukee County has practices in place to require its contractors to use people that live here. And Milwaukee County makes all of these various efforts to do things to empower and hire and help our, at least region, if not just the county directly, prosper. So how is it that we are putting special efforts in this request into doing out-of-state recruitment when so many other areas of our operations call for exactly the opposite? Aren't we kind of doing one thing with our left hand and one thing with our right hand from a policy perspective if we pursue this?
Thank you for your question, Chairwoman. We actually are doing quite an active outreach internally within the state of Wisconsin across the board for all positions. The stipulations of this grant by the Wisconsin Economic Development Group was specifically in line with very much along the same lines as the MMAC's region of choice, where we highlight Milwaukee, the greater Milwaukee area, Milwaukee County, as being a destination for talent and expanding particularly our talent in an underrepresented capacity. The methodology that we had presented to the panel judging this grants award was kind of utilizing the corporate realization of A, B, C, D class cities, where when we look at positions that we have a tremendous hardship in fielding a diverse pool of qualified candidates for, let's take our trades positions. Our trades positions at the county, we still labor under Act 10 competitiveness. And we also have within our county's workforce, majoritively a single note representation demographically. We don't have a lot of diversity in that space. And when you apply that corporate ABCD city, it gives us the opportunity to go to and recruit within a different market where the compensation that Milwaukee County can offer actually represents a healthy increase. And we're able to competitively bring not only the filling of those hard to fill positions, and I'll pause there that it is literally across the board. You know, we have those challenges from the airport to the zoo, trying to field a demographically representative candidate pool for these high level sole contributor and highly matriculated roles. So what this would give us the opportunity to compete for would be to get talent into Milwaukee County and have a effectively an all hands on deck push, talking about the not only the work, but their social engagement within our communities and bringing and raising the tax ratables for both the county and the state of Wisconsin. So it gives us the opportunity to have a compelling recruitment hook to diverse candidates in what have typically been for Milwaukee County very highly underrepresented when we go to open recruitments. The internal and the domestic, if you will, recruitment that we maintain with Milwaukee County, my teams attend regularly now about 100 events a year that are community facing and recruitment intensive in order to have that broad outreach brought into our workforce And our numbers represent that. You know, we've increased the representation of the Milwaukee County workforce by over 30% consecutively for the last 3 years. So our efforts are maintained domestically, and this was really an opportunity we couldn't afford to bypass that the WEDC had put out there. But the components of that relevant to external to the state of Wisconsin, that was all derived by that organization's go-to-market strategy.
Thank you, Director Baez. So if I wanted to paraphrase that for the average voter in Milwaukee County for understanding, would it be accurate if I said that Milwaukee County is looking at any and all available opportunities to improve our workforce, do our part in aiding with economic development, and draw to the region for people looking to make moves across the country, and that we saw an opportunity for financing new tools in our tool chest for recruiting the best candidates. So we are seeking to partner with the WEDC in this way, and therefore this is not a shift in position or policy from the county to seek out-of-state recruitments, but a small tool in a large toolbox to pad in where we have trouble recruiting here.
Yes, Chairwoman, that was very articulately put. That would be what we're doing. Maybe even a simpler version is that we will definitely continue to walk and chew gum at the same time, emphasizing that we have tremendous community partnerships that we leverage and lean upon to get us the volumes we deal in terms of processing over 40,000 candidates a year for positions at current state. And this will give us that added functionality for these very hard to fill positions that typically stay vacant for extended periods of time, just because the Wisconsin workforce that we're able to pull from just doesn't have the numbers that we need to close those vacancies sooner.
Thank you. And please know, my summary intention was not at all to water down or discredit anything that you provided in your thorough explanation, only that I know sometimes, out in the community, we get asked questions that are very basic, and if we are explaining at length, we're losing, because the general public often does not have the patience for us to explain all the details, and we have to be able to get the concept across fast. So thank you for helping provide the details that we can build that on. So this item was for informational only. Were there any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, the next item, please. I believe would be 8 and 15 together. Oh, should we recess first before you read? Or read first? Okay. Actually, committee, we're going to take just a 3-minute quick recess. If anyone needs to step into another room for a moment, for a break, a drink, anything like that, we've got 3 minutes that will be on recess, and then we'll continue with those 2 items. I love that. All right. Abracadabra. I have been now authorized by our clerk to use abracadabra, and I am legitimately happy about that. So we're just coming back from a brief recess. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll to reestablish a quorum?
Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Here.
Wasserman?
Can you hear me?
We have you now. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Excused.
Shea?
Here.
Madam Chairwoman?
Present.
There are 3 members present, 2 attending virtually. We have a quorum.
All right. Prior to our recess, we had temporarily laid over item 8, to be taken up along with item 15. We'll take those two items up together so that you can freely discuss or present between them as needed, but our intention, unless otherwise moved by one of the committee members, would be to vote separately on those needing votes.
Item 8 from the Acting Chief Deputy, Milwaukee County Office of the Sheriff, MCSO, requesting the creation of 2 FTE civilian investigator full-time positions, pay grade NR 19 in 4052 general investigations, using the pool of funds from the vacant investigator hourly positions, pay grade NR 19 in 4052 general investigations. And item 15, 2026 Adopted Budget Amendment 30 from the Director, Office Strategy, Budget, and Performance, providing a response to 2026 Budget Amendment 30. This item was also referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Law Enforcement, and General Services, where at their meeting of May 19th, 2026, it was discussed with no action taken and is informational only unless otherwise directed by the committee.
Thank you. And do we plan to go into item 8 first or 15 first?
15, Madam
15. All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Supervisors. My name is Isaac Rowlett, Strategy Director, Office of Strategy, Budget, and Performance. I'm here today to present a response to Amendment 30, which directed SBP, Human Resources, the Sheriff's Office, and the Community Reintegration Center to analyze recruitment, hiring, training, and staffing practices for correctional officer and deputy sheriff positions. So I want to be upfront at the beginning about what this report is and what it is not. So the board asked for analysis, and that's precisely what this is. This is an honest look at how the system works, where the friction points are, and what options might be worth pursuing. As a result, these are starting points for further exploration rather than formal recommendations. So what did we find? First, we found that applicant volume is not the problem. Milwaukee County receives substantial interest. In fact, in 2025, we're talking over 1,400 applicants for MCSO correctional officer positions alone. The problem that we have is one of conversion. So fewer than 10% of applicants typically result in a hire. And in several recent years, the number of hires has barely exceeded the number of separations, meaning we're running hard just to hold on to our position with a minimal net staffing growth. Second, attrition happens throughout the pipeline, not just at the front door. So candidates exit at multiple points. Qualification gaps, non-responsiveness, background screening, early career turnover all play a role. And 12-month retention rates for correctional officers hover around 72 to 74%, which means that we're losing roughly 1 in 4 within the first year. Deputy sheriffs retain much better at 91%, but their hiring pipeline is significantly longer. Background investigations alone can take 5 to 6 months before a recruit even starts academy training. Third, training capacity is a binding constraint on the system. Correctional officers must complete jailer certification, which is about 5 weeks, within their first year, and deputy sheriffs must complete a roughly 1,000-hour academy before they are fully operational. So that pipeline runs 5 to 6 months. And when training classes are constrained by instructor availability or facility capacity, onboarding delays extend vacancies, and those vacancies continue to drive the overtime that we're all working to reduce. Fourth, and this matters a lot for how we think about the solutions, a significant portion of these requirements are set by state law and the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Standards Board. So, for example, background check standards, certification requirements, drug testing, felony prohibitions, the county does not have unilateral authority to streamline those. Any changes in those areas would require action at the state level. Now, what the county can influence are things like how we front load applicant expectations so that people self-select before they enter the pipeline. There's a lot of misaligned expectations between those that apply and those that begin to progress through the system. Also, how we align recruitment cycles with training schedules in order to reduce gaps between waves of new hires. How we evaluate background investigation capacity to determine whether additional staffing there would speed throughput, and whether we use strategies like controlled overhiring, so intentionally hiring above authorized FTE levels to account for attrition. This would require board-level action. We also looked at the Milwaukee Police Department's recruitment model for sake of comparison. MPD invests more heavily in structured pipeline development. They have a police aid program that cultivates candidates before they enter the formal hiring process. They use continuous recruitment rather than periodic application windows, and they have lateral recruitment incentives. These aren't directly transferable, but they do illustrate the difference between reactive recruiting and proactive pipeline development. The bottom line is this: the staffing challenges at the Sheriff's Office and the Community Reintegration Center are real, they are structural, and they will not be resolved by a single intervention. Recruiting, training, and retention function as a system, as has been discussed today already in terms of the importance of systems. So improving one piece without the others won't move the needle in a sustained way. The report lays out this terrain very clearly. The next step is for departments to work through which operational changes are actionable now, which ones will require resource or policy decisions, including decisions that come back to the board. Pleased to share that I'm joined today by colleagues from HR, Sheriff's Office, CRC. We are happy to address questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a number of questions, but first want to give an opportunity to the other members of the committee joining us online.
Madam Chair, at this time, I do not have any questions.
Thank you. All right, seeing none either from Supervisor Shea, I guess I'll dive into a few that I have. So I was the supervisor that wrote this budget amendment because I have experienced frustration during our budgeting timelines year after year after year, and throughout the year when we look at requests that are made of us, how we have to interpret them, changing and shifting information, and then over time, you know, where are we at 14 years now? I've just realized that time flies by from budget to budget, and things may stay the same in the departments, change on paper, but then they seem to stay the same. I see a lot of actions that get taken administratively or legislatively or budget-wise or hiring, et cetera. But over the longer term, I personally don't see the root causes of a lot of our problems being addressed. And so, you know, I requested this because I understood that a lot of input from different departments was needed. I understood that, you know, the experiential type of input that we could receive directly from the Sheriff's Department might be very different from, say, HR best practices or opportunities, or, you know, administrative science opportunities that we could look at how we do things. I completely understand why the report comes back without, you know, a necessary action item of, you know, here's what we discovered, light bulbs are all on, and let's move forward with this. But obviously, because it doesn't, it sort of begs the question of how do we dive into this information deeper, and where do we go from here? So I guess my first question, and it's for any of the departments, as this report was put together, did every department that needed to participate in it and have approval in it and have their input counted, was it adequately part of it, or was this managed by, you know, DOS or one department? I want to make sure that it seems like it might not have been signed off on the report, so I want to make sure that the departments that were charged with doing this did all participate and that this was collaborative and that they're in agreement with the outcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Tricia Carlson. I'm an inspector with the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. I currently oversee the Investigative Services Bureau, which includes our agency hiring. I have managed the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office hiring for approximately 9 years now, so I'm well versed in some of the challenges our agency is experiencing. It is not necessarily different than a lot of other professions are seeing, but it is certainly impactful to the Sheriff's Office. And so I first want to thank Heather Wolfgram for her awesome support in putting this report together. I know it was difficult for her to be an outsider coming in and trying to understand both the CRC and the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, how we do things. So she navigated that process very well. And we all did participate in the creation of this report. My findings in the review of the report are that it's not anything we didn't already know, both from the staffing study that was done, but I feel like it gave us a clearer jump-off point on things we need to focus on, hence why I'm before you today with number 8. I would like to hit the ground running on some of the suggestions that were in this report and just move forward in changes or reviews of perhaps civil service that needs to be looked at to assist us in expediting some of this change faster and more efficiently.
Would you like to dive into number 8, or would you like me to pursue other questions on the report? I can go either way with you if you think this is a good segue, and we can come back to more detailed report questions.
I'm happy to continue with your questions.
Okay. So when we talk about candidates that are dropping out of that hiring pipeline, do we have stage-by-stage attrition data? So for example, funnel analysis that would show applicants screened out, ghosted or non-responsive, failed background, declined offers, academy failures, or when they resign right after getting, they make it all the way through the pipeline, but for whatever reason resign. Do we have that kind of data available? Has it been analyzed? If I missed it in the report, let me know.
Madam Chair, Supervisors, Claire Miller, Interim Chief Human Resources Officer from Milwaukee County. We can certainly get back to you on what information and data that we have available to dig into that question. So I don't have that right in front of me right now, but we can certainly share what's possible and what data we can provide you, and then we can also do some analysis on the data that we can provide.
Sure. That's sort of a conceptual request right now. I don't want to leave you with a laundry list just verbally in this meeting, so I might do some written follow-up later after the meeting, because I think there's a lot that we can use this report, like you said, as a jumping off point to begin fleshing things out and having cross-departmental understanding with where do we go from here. Another question I had is regarding why non-responsiveness numbers would be so high. Do we see the same level of non-responsiveness for all jobs across the county, or is it just happening here? Any idea what's going on? Some of the sub-reasons or questions that I had come up with were, if people are not responding because the wait was so long that they took another job. Maybe if, for whatever reason, they're not seeing the emails and things, from the government may sometimes be going straight into junk mail. Or if it's too paperwork heavy, or if there's like other technology barriers. But if you have any insight, we'd love to hear that.
Madam Chair, Supervisors, I would like to see if Director Baez has any insight. As our Director of Talent Acquisition, he may have some comments on that.
Good morning, Chairwoman and Supervisors. Gennaro Baez, Director of HR Operations and Talent Acquisition. We do have data from the HR side of the equation that we could track in the processing of a applicant that's in the candidate pool to where that candidate where that applicant becomes a candidate after making the qualified list and being submitted to hiring manager review. The line of sight that we have relevant to that candidate past that point is minimal and is dependent upon the Captain Carlson's team and stakeholders within the MCSO dispositioning those candidates so that we could have the data within the Dayforce platform. But relevant up until that point where that individual is an applicant and becomes a candidate that made the qualified list, and where they are in the status of being reviewed under hiring manager review, we have that data, and that data is easily accessible. Past that point, we don't have a clear line of sight.
Thank you, Director Baez. Do you think there might be any benefit to the county going out on a whim of a limb and, say, sending a letter to the last 300 applicants that ghosted responding to us, and in a very non-threatening, non-analytical way simply said, hey, we recognize you applied, you were interested, we didn't hear from you, we're trying to make our processes better, could you please, check off this list and return it to us and let us know why you chose not to pursue this or not to respond? Could that potentially be a way to get a little bit of valuable data?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Chairwoman. Each of the stakeholders representing the results of this report today are definitely of the mindset by any means necessary relevant to improving how we get people actively on the schedule. That would be something that could definitely be considered in terms of what they call in corporate speak, the voice of the customer, seeing where people's feelings about our product, in this case, a role within the MCSO at Milwaukee County. I can tell you that some of the conversations have evolved around just the situational realities that we are in. A qualified candidate that could advance to being on the hiring manager review list is a very finite pool. Couple that with the fact that somebody who could literally commute to our job offerings has a wealth of other law enforcement agencies that they could also easily commute to. So we are in constant competition with other entities. And for resources where this is kind of a first look into that career path, when they look at competitive salaries or hourly rates out there in the marketplace, they have competing factors that are not even law enforcement agencies in considering a career that are equal to or better than relevant to their financial needs. So there are multiple levels of competition that each and every one of the applicants that we are considering has a wealth of opportunity to consider. So the factor that you delineated, definitely. But there are really myriad factors that we've discussed and are trying to put up strategic responses to.
Thank you. Thinking of the Milwaukee Police Department in comparison, why does Milwaukee County appear to have dramatically weaker conversion rates than MPD? It looks like the report compares pipeline programs, continuous recruitment models, incentives, and marketing investment. And where I'm going with this is wondering, what are they doing right, or what is different that is potentially operationally transferable?
I think if you would ask the Milwaukee Police Department if they were doing everything right, they would probably say, no, we're not. We're struggling the same as you guys are in hiring. The two are completely different in my eyes. The Milwaukee Police Department is hiring a singular position. They're running an ongoing job posting for a police officer. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, at any given time, I could have 5 job recs open at one time: hourly, PSO, clerical, correctional officer, deputy sheriff. It's extremely hard to manage all of those requisitions, keep everything accurate, make sure everybody is being paid attention to appropriately, and then just the oversight over that. I mean, we have a lot of non-sworn and sworn staff that are managing all of that. Is that the best, way to use those resources? Probably not. Some of these positions should be more of a civilian role that I think could pay more direct attention to that job. That's their sole job, is to recruit or do the hiring for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. We have recently put together a recruitment team of numerous deputies and correctional officers that have attended many hiring events recently. I just want to share with the committee, our numbers for correctional officer, although they're not what I would like them to be, they have improved over the last 3 months. Historically, our numbers were in single digits for a hiring, and in April, we had 16. 3, unfortunately, had their offer withdrawn for, I'm guessing, a step in the HR process, and so we had 13 for the April class. We have a class coming up on May 26th. We had 16 for that. 1 had an offer rescinded. So we have 15 going into that class. And then for June, which we're not done yet, we have 8 and 1 pending offer. So our numbers are improving, and they have improved over the last 3 months. I would like them to even be higher than that.
That's really great news. Are
Yep.
those numbers that you just cited beating our attrition numbers?
I can't answer on how many.
See a
have
hand
left.
raised in
If
the
you
back.
wanna,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. We have room. Please do.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Supervisors. David Rugaber, Deputy Director, Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, Milwaukee County Jail. We're projecting right now, and again, it's early in the year, but we're projecting to hire 122 officers. Again, that could tail off at the end of the year, but that's currently where the projection sits. And we're projected to lose 60 officers. By the end of the year. We average about 5 a month that we lose. That compares to last year, we were losing 7.33 per month. So the attrition rate is much better than it was last year. And last year was better than it was in 2024. So we continue to improve.
Thank you. I know that's really important to us members of the county board because we know that the quality of life of the residents, the people we serve in our care, as well as our employees, is a direct correlation to those types of numbers. So I've been burdened for a long time that they were in a very bad position, and I'm glad to hear at least they're moving the correct direction. When you think about possibilities for reducing the timing or the timing of the pipeline on our hiring process. In the last budget cycle, I did attempt to make some changes to our policies for how we would pursue number of days and steps in that cycle. And there was a lot of concern of, which rules and which laws do we have to follow, when, where, how, why. It's part of how this report came about. But have we modeled, at least for discussion's sake, what it would look like as far as a fiscal impact if we were able to find ways to reduce our hiring timelines by, say, 30 days or 60 days?
So, as you know, we have been working on that process with HR. We have worked with Peter Labonte very closely, and not only did we look at the correctional officer process and areas that we could tweak, improve, or shorten, we also looked at the deputy process. And I will be the first to admit they can be lengthy processes. But I think it's important that we remember the positions that we're doing this process for. They are highly, highly secure areas individuals be working in. We are putting people through an academy that they're going to be carrying a weapon and need to make very good, clear decisions. And so I will say that we have improved those lengths of time over the last few years. Could we still look at more? Absolutely. I
Right.
think everything can be continually reviewed for tweaks.
For clarity, I don't ask that question at all to imply that we want to speed up a process that does have a very bona fide reason in certain segments of the pipeline that it has to take as long as it does. I remember hearing about, just your investigative processes to make sure that you understand everybody's backgrounds and dot the I's and cross the T's. But I think where I'm going with just, the concept of modeling what could the fiscal impact be is my wondering if we had additional HR investigators or recruiters to tackle this pipeline in whatever ways, we collectively found to be best, would those additions pay for themselves by reducing overtime? And while I know that we may not have an answer to that question today, I don't necessarily expect one. That's sort of why I'm asking about the fiscal modeling, because if we could reduce overtime, it's not just a dollars and cents thing. That's an hours and a quality of life and a retention long-term thing. So, if there was a way to have additional, whether it's recruitment investigators, whatever, in that, trainers in that pipeline process, that we need to thoroughly flesh out and explore, especially as we are rolling into another budget cycle, I would love to understand if we would be able to offset those additional costs through the reduction in overtime, excuse me.
I think the cost savings would show in the salaries, as we were discussing, if we have sworn and non-sworn staff that are working on both backgrounds and the parts of those processes, that those are not the resources that should be working on those types of things, our agency hiring. We should have a civilian role that oversees and manages that, and we should have enough background investigators to produce what we need for our staffing. We've had many conversations about this topic, and we talked about, I know that prior conversations have been had about, why should we give you additional positions when you cannot fill the positions you have? That's not really the way to look at it. The way I look at it is, if you never have a buffer above what your needed staff is, you're always going to be in the red. And I've said it at other committee meetings, we need to get above what our staffing number is and maintain that. And then you're never in the red.
Right.
And so we've discussed that. And I appreciate that we have received some additional staffing on the last budget. And I do think we are making strides towards reaching that number. We're in the process of doing our deputy final interviews right now. I have 26 to interview there. We just reopened another posting for lateral deputy sheriffs, and we got 8 in that. So I'm very optimistic we're moving in the right direction, but we can't stop,
Right. So do we have benchmarking data that compares us to other similarly sized counties, the counties that, we are traditionally comparing ourselves to across the nation, to know how our pipeline or our constrictions on our processes compare to theirs? This comes to mind, especially when I hear you say over and over again, we have the sworn and the non-sworn and who's doing which duties. What do other counties like Milwaukee and other places do? And is it comparable, or is it wildly different, and why? Do we know any of that, or is that something we need to pursue?
I have not analyzed anybody else's process. I'm not sure if the director has, regarding the correctional officer position in Racine or Kenosha. I do know that we have had conversations with Dane County, which is a comparable sized agency. And, you know, although I didn't get into great length on what their process was to hire somebody, he did express that the same things we're talking about today, the struggle of finding an applicant, keeping them in the process from beginning to end, they are experiencing the same thing. So I'm confident that it really has nothing to do with Milwaukee County. It's as a whole, the profession is seeing the struggle, whether it's in a correctional officer setting or a law enforcement side.
Thank you. Thinking of background investigations, why are they structured sequentially in order rather than parallel? Okay, could there be overlap to reduce timelines there?
So all backgrounds are worked on together.
Oh,
so the background investigators, I have currently 3 full-time and 10 part-time. And so correctional officer backgrounds are being worked on while deputy backgrounds are being worked on, while PSO and hourly and all the various ones we have. They don't, it's not as when the posting comes in and then they get this group and everybody else stops. They're all being worked on.
All the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I add to that as well?
Absolutely.
And this is not sustainable. This is something that we're doing that's outside the box, but, you know, we're trying new things and we're trying to, you know, it's an emergency type situation with our staffing, so we're doing what we can. And I don't want to take away from the need for full-time investigators. We absolutely need them. And what we have done, and it's sacrificing on the front end to get rewards on the back end, is we have taken a supervisor off of our floor to engage in backgrounds at the jail. And 3 of our captains have been trained in backgrounds as well. So they would be doing their captain's duties and they would be doing backgrounds as well. That's not sustainable. Obviously, there are structures within the jail that need attention, and to take a captain away from those duties is difficult. But they're doing it just so we can get out of the situation that we're in. But again, not sustainable, but we're trying what we can. And so far, it's working, but it is a strain on us.
Thank you. When we think about mandatory overtime, I would be interested in learning, if you know it today, I will be solidly impressed, but I understand if we don't have it. Looking at overtime and the causes for it when it can be identified, and distinguishing between 3 main areas. Overtime that's caused because of vacancies and, you know, our hiring pipeline and timing. Overtime that's caused from leave usage of whatever variety that is. And overtime that's caused due to the scheduling model, meaning management design issue with how things are set up that way. Do we know how that breaks down comparatively, or is data about that available? Anybody?
Madam Chair, Supervisors, overtime is the reason for it is all the things you just listed. And so we can provide, you know, different buckets of data on what that would, you know, why that, and FMLA usage and other usage of it and how that impacts. But, you know, we don't have that in front of us right at this moment. But overtime is a multifaceted issue. This is a 24/7 operation, and we're going to have overtime as part of their operations. I think there's opportunity to reduce it and opportunity to partner on what that looks like and collaborate. And we can certainly provide some of that data.
Understandable. I think that it's one thing for us to tell the taxpayers that someone worked overtime because we had a security risk that we couldn't walk away from. It's one thing to say we had overtime because we needed to make sure that someone who was very ill didn't have to come into work. It's another thing to say we don't know exactly why we have overtime, and it's lots of things. So it's totally right, but if we're not currently tracking the reason, and to be clear, I'm not asking this question or, bringing this up to try to place blame. I'm doing it so that we can eventually get to a point of having enough data that it becomes apparent to all of us of how do we tackle this bear, right? So if we're not currently tracking the most general reason for instances of overtime, we should be.
Madam Chair, we do track it. I don't have that data available as a conglomerate, right? But we do track the data on overtime on a daily basis, whether it's related to somebody calling in sick, whether it's related to somebody's on vacation, if there's just a vacant post and we don't have enough staff available, somebody takes a personal day. All that information is tracked on a daily basis. The most significant reason for overtime bias, of course, is the use of sick time and FMLA. We have addressed that, though, so we realize that that's an issue, and we've set up a department that tracks FMLA and tracks sick calls and making sure that people are using it appropriately. Since we put that division in place over at the jail, it's reduced sick calls and the overtime associated with that by a significant amount.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Madam Chair, I would like to just add something regarding just some food for thought for the committee and everybody. I want to give you some numbers, personnel numbers dating back to when deputy sheriffs were in the jail working. There were 310 deputy sheriffs assigned to the Milwaukee County Jail when it was deputy sheriffs in the building. And even if you subtracted out 20 of them as inmate transportation deputies, because we don't do that anymore, that's a private contract, that would put your number at 290 staff members needed to run the Milwaukee County Jail. And currently the staffing for correctional is 235. And so somewhere along the way, that number took a significant nosedive, but I would say that the jobs or responsibilities within the facility has increased during that time frame. And so I'm just asking everybody to think about those numbers from back when a deputy sheriff was working to now when correctional officers are in there. I can't really say how that breakdown went or when that fell off the radar and some staffing numbers were removed. I can just say that is what happened, and now we're at a significant reduction of staff within the jail. And, we need the board's help to build it back up to where it was.
Do you think any of that has to do with pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic and how just operations everywhere changed during that time?
I don't believe it has anything to do with the pandemic, no.
Okay. Let me pause there. After that run of questions, committee members, I just want to check in if you have any questions or comments at this point.
No, Madam Chair, not at this time.
Supervisor Shea?
No, Madam Chair.
I do have a lot more questions, but I think that there's subsets of things we've already touched on. And so in the interest of everyone's time and also understanding that I think a lot of my questions will come out theoretical in nature and result in, let's look into that, gather data, and circle back. So I think I will send some of those questions over to each of you in writing and sort of propose how can we go about seeking out additional information and data and what next steps are. Do you want to touch on item 8 and the request there?
Absolutely, thank you. So basically, I'm here today after reviewing the Amendment 30 and its findings and actually knowing even before we put that on paper that the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, we have graduated from strictly having part-time background investigators. We need full-time background investigators working 40-plus hours a week on completing all of the various backgrounds we have going on at one time. And so I'm here today to ask for the board's consideration on granting me 2 full-time civilian investigators to be funded out of my current hourly funding budget. So I would not be asking for any additional funds. I would be transferring funds from my hourly budget to the current account of my 3 full-time background investigators. As we discussed, we have put into play some temporary steps to get us through and increase our numbers, which we have seen have benefited that, but that is not a long-term solution. So I'm hoping the committee today will allow me to create the 2 full-time civilian investigator positions. Thank you.
Ma'am, could I just ask for more detail briefly? I had a hard time following, in layman's terms, the request that's being made and understanding where the money is coming from and why and how it's being transferred over. I think part of it is because I'm not used to seeing pool of funds versus create, and then understanding investigator hourly with non-applicable FTE, but then investigator full-time with the same salaries listed. Could bring it to my level for me.
Sure. So I'm not going to be an expert on speaking on the budgetary movement of money, but it's my understanding all I had at one point in time were hourly positions. And it wasn't, there was position set, and then it went to a set amount of funds.
And when you say hourly, that ostensibly
Part-time.
means part-time in
Yes,
this context.
20 hours a week.
Okay.
And due to some other county changes also, that is the max they can work now. I used to be able to let them work a little more, but because of the WRS and county rules regarding pension contributions and things like that, they can no longer work over that. Some of them would, and that was beneficial at that time, but now there are just additional constraints put on that happening. So that pool of funds, when my prior 3 positions, which was 3 years ago, I believe, were filled, money from the hourly pool was transferred over into the full-time position account. So it was paid for out of those funds. And that is exactly the same process I'm asking to happen now. So I'm moving funds from my hourly account into a full-time, 2 full-time positions.
But if you had funds in the account for hourly or 20-hour-a-week positions, and those presumably came with none or less benefits than what the full-time would, doesn't it mean you're getting less for more by making this request? You're spending the same amount of money and you're getting less total hours because you have to pay for more benefits.
Not necessarily, because I look at it hours worked per week, and when you only work 20 hours per week, so let's say you work a Monday and a Tuesday, then you don't touch that file again until next week, Monday and Tuesday. So the file sits for 5 days with nobody touching it, whereas a 40-hour-a-week person would literally be working on it Monday through Friday, and they could work overtime to meet our needs, where I can't do that with my part-time staff.
Mr. Katie, could I ask if you could give insight to help answer my question? If it seemed to me like we're talking about dollars to dollars, same amount of money, and a request to go from 20-hour-a-week employees that presumably have less benefits to full-time 40-hour-a-week or or overtime, or within salary, whichever employees. But I completely understand the need for the daily scheduling for it tightening up the pipeline angle, but I'm having a hard time getting to a final understanding of, isn't she going to get less work hours for the same amount of money because of the benefits cost, or is that not rolled into these numbers?
Madam Chairwoman, I was just going to review the fiscal note to see how fringe benefits was handled in the fiscal note as reported by the department, and that might shed some light for all of us.
While you're looking that up, I'll check with the other committee members if they have anything on this portion of item 8. I see a hand up from Supervisor Cogs-Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you so much for bringing forth this report. And, in this aspect, I do support this if this will kind of help bridge the gap of the timeline. But I do have a couple questions here. And the questions are, what is the timeline of processing background checks when you have X amount of staff persons working at only 20 hours a week compared to having 2 full-time staff persons working 40 hours a week?
So let me think about that. And thank you for your question. So currently I have 3 full-time background investigators right now. And they, like I said, work 40 hours a week and can work overtime if we need them to. They're there to help us process anybody coming in for interviews and the fingerprint process and all of those steps. I would say that my full-time guys move probably 3 times the amount of backgrounds that the part-time people do per week, because they just have more hours in a day.
Okay. And roughly how many background checks are being completed from A to Z? Like, how long does that take? Is that a 3-day process, a 5 to 6 day process?
Well, it varies by position. So as we kind of discussed with the deputy sheriff position, the process from beginning to end, not just including the background, can take 5 to 6 months. And that's from job posting to having an initial physical readiness test done, to having a panel interview done, to having your background completed, which is a full background, to having panel interviews and final interviews, and then a full physical readiness test, and then a date set up with the academy to meet their training to start. So that process used to exceed 6 months. We have cut it down to about 5 now. But that is, all of that is set up with the training academy and Captain Ronsky 6 months in advance. So our calendar is set that far in advance so she can accommodate all of the training that goes with it. Now, correctional officer is less time. That could range anywhere from a 2-week to a 6-week turnaround to get the background done. Then the directors make the decision on hiring, and then HR has to have time to do their process, which is usually 30 days to make the job offer, send the applicant for a physical, to get their uniforms ordered, for a drug test to be completed, and then an orientation date set up.
And this is all being done by the investigators?
So the investigators do the entire background process. Once they're done with that, then it gets sent on its way to a decision by the hiring manager, and then to HR is provided the names that we authorize for hire, and then HR conducts their steps.
Okay. All right. Thank you for those details and that response. I yield back, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have comments or questions on these 2 items, 8 or 15? All right. Mr. Cady,
Yes.
what did you find out?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The fiscal note does explicitly call out the fact that the healthcare, pension, and Social Security costs have been factored into it. They will be using $160,000 and some odd dollars to create the 2 positions full-time with these benefits, Social Security and healthcare, as you mentioned, which will be taken from the pool of dollars that were available for the hourlies. Ostensibly, they'll get more service and better outcomes by creating the full-time than they would be by just trying to manage it through their hourly pool. But the fiscal note does contemplate the fringe benefit cost.
Checking my understanding. So mathematically, they may technically be getting less hours in the end than what they were capable of purchasing from an hourly candidate pool, but the quality of the hours that they're getting because of the difference in scheduling and pipeline would be worth it? Is that
I think that
where we're
captures
going?
it, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay.
I think it does.
Okay, I can justify that then. Thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. All right. Seeing no other hands up on this item. Supervisors, did you care to make any motions on either of these items?
Yes. I do believe that item 15 is informational only, so I'll make a motion to approve item 8, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Let's take up the motion on item 8 first without yet disposing of item 15, if we can do that.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 8 be recommended for adoption, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Shea?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you. Do we know what the outcome from JLEGS was on file 26438 for item 15?
Yes, Madam Chair, it was discussed with no action taken.
Okay. So, committee, the item 15 regarding the overview report was discussed in JLEGS with no action taken. I know that I would like to discuss topics within this report, plus, follow-up questions, et cetera, at a later time, but I don't know necessarily if that would need to take the form of a separate report, indicating that it would be something entirely new on an agenda, or if we should lay this item over for additional consideration, or simply receive and place in file so that we have it as a long-term reference file that apparently JLEGS decided not to do. I'm not normally one for receive and place on file unless it's a big report that I expect will matter for a long time. This may fit that bill. What do you committee members think we should do?
I do believe we addressed some heavy lifting conversations relating to item 15 during committee today, but I know, Chairwoman, that you had more questions that you wanted to reach out to the administration about. I'll be more than happy to laying this over to discuss further after further conversations has happened. Supervisor Shea, what are your thoughts?
If Madam Chair wants to lay it over to your call, that's fine.
Okay.
I appreciate that, and I think that would be a good idea. It would give us time, not necessarily for June. I know cycle-to-cycle timelines can be tight for the departments or non-existent if they overlap. But I do think that we have a really good opportunity to get some information prior to us going into budget ourselves that will really help us navigate how to improve the situation. So.
Okay.
Could one of you speak that formal motion and we'll move forward with it?
Sure thing. Madam Chair, I make a motion to lay over for next committee meeting.
Did you want to do call of the chair instead so that if they cannot get answers to questions by that committee meeting?
Okay. I lay this item over to the call of the chair, Madam.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk.
On the motion by Supervisor Cogs-Jones that item number 15 be laid over to the call of the chairperson, Supervisor Cogs-Jones?
Aye.
Shay?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman?
Aye.
3 ayes, 0 noes. The motion prevails.
Thank you. Looks like we have one item left on our agenda, item 16 for e-comments.
Item 16, e-comments submitted to the Committee on Personnel via the County Legislative Information Center click.
Madam Chairwoman, I do not see any items or e-comments posted at this time.
Okay, and Mr. Clerk, prior to the meeting, you didn't have any either?
That's correct, Madam Chair. If any have come in during the course of the meeting, they will be appended to the record.
Okay, perfect. And just double checking, is there anything else we missed? We've covered all of our bases, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. All right, well, with there being no other business, we stand adjourned until the next committee meeting. Abracadabra.